Hey, I'm Kate Abraham. On today's show, we have compressor tips with Ray Maxwell, Ruby on Rails, and a web workshop. All this and so much more today on The Lab with Leo.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you and welcome to the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. This is the show where we explain how technology works. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Abraham. We are going to show you how cell phones work, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, computers, the internet, the whole kit and caboodle. It's going to be fun.
And caboodle.
Kit and caboodle. So you be the kid, I'll be the caboodle.
Indeed.
Ray Maxwell's here. He's going to show you how to use compressor and QMaster. Actually, he's going to show, what he's really going to show you is how you can use, some programs nowadays are so smart that they actually will use multiple computers in your house to get the work done. So compressor and QMaster are really, you know, they churn, they do a lot of work. They can actually use other computers in your house to do it.
Okay.
Okay. Ruby on Rails 2 is here. Brian LaRue has an explainer on why and what is different. And Susie Gardner with our web workshop. We love her. She's mean, but she's kind at the same time. But first, we want to get our calls in here. We've got some great ones. Let's start with, what do you think, Krista?
It's Krista, and yeah, she is from Whitby, Ontario.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Hello, Krista.
Hey, Leo, how are you?
I'm great. Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
What can I do for you today?
I just got the iPod Touch, and I noticed that I can't set a playlist to wake up to an alarm clock.
You can't?
No, it doesn't. They removed the feature on the new iPod Touch.
That's crazy, because that's one of the best features of the iPod. I used to use it as my alarm clock. So I had classical music, my Baroque playlist, and I would set it, and I'd say at 7 a.m., I want you to play the Baroque music. It would come through the speakers. It was great. So you can't do that on the Touch?
No, you can't do that anymore. I even called Apple, and they said that it's just not possible anymore.
Well, that's just dumb. That's dumb. You've got a Touch. Now, you've hacked your Touch, right?
Yes, I have.
And now, I'm not recommending this, because you can't unlock these, just like you can unlock the iPhone, you can unlock the Touch to allow third-party applications on it.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Jailbreaking it?
Yeah, jailbreaking. It's an easy thing to do, but the reason I'm not recommending it is because we don't know exactly how Apple's going to respond. In the past, they've not responded well to doing this. Best case scenario, they would erase all your changes when you update it. Worst case scenario, you wouldn't be able to update because it might brick your iPod Touch. That's what happened with the iPhone. Now, you've looked at a lot of these jailbreak apps. Do any of them do the alarm clock thing?
I haven't seen one that does exactly that yet.
Yeah, that's kind of kooky. And the clock application doesn't do that, huh? I know it's got an alarm in it, but it won't.
Yeah.
It'll just go beep, beep, beep.
You know, it is worth noting that by the time people are seeing this,
Yes.
the developer applications will be out there. They're opening that up in February, I believe.
And that's the main reason I say don't unlock it yet, Krista, because soon you'll be able to add legitimately add third-party applications, and I would be willing to bet that that's one of the first things somebody remedies that. That's crazy. I mean, that's one of the best things about an iPod.
Exactly.
I'm baffled. So. Wait, it won't take too long. Apple gave the keys to the kingdom in February to developers. I would guess we'll start seeing the first applications, you know, you're seeing this in April by now, certainly in the next month or so, if not by now. So you can wait a couple of months, you think?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's no other way I know of to do it, and I don't recommend jailbreaking it. It's easy to do. You can actually do it from a website, but you won't be able to update your iPod Touch. Okay. And so I think that's kind of a negative. Okay?
All right. Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Krista. And shame on you, Apple. That's one. They took it. You know, why take a feature like that out?
They took a few features away from these new ones.
Bugs me. I mean, I like the Touch a lot. I like how it feels. I like how it looks. It's great for video. It's really, I think of the Touch as a video player now, more than a music player.
Unless you want to send it out to one of your old video gadgets through the universal connector.
Can't do that either, right?
Can't do that anymore either.
Sigh. All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up, Ray Maxwell's going to show you how to, I guess, a poor man's Beowulf cluster. How to use multiple computers to get the job done faster. When the lab continues, you stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. Ray Maxwell is here, raconteur, teacher, color scientist, engineer, glider pilot, photographer, and apparently compressor. He is here to talk about a program called Compressor. Apple makes this. Actually, it's a very high-end program used in Final Cut Pro, Final Cut Studio, that kind of thing.
That's right.
What do we use it for?
Well, it's quite interesting that you asked that, because when I first got this whole set of software, I looked at it and I said, oh, compressor. Oh, all he does is compress things into another format.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, now, wait a minute. In Final Cut Pro,
does it anyway?
I can export it in any format I want. For that matter, I can go to QuickTime Player if it's the Pro version.
It'll do it too.
And it'll do it too. So, you know, why bother with this silly thing?
Right.
You know. And I kind of opened it once and it looked a little, you know, scary. and so I kind of neglected it for months. And then one day I thought, well, I'm going to run through it and see what it does.
Okay.
Now I think it's magic.
Oh, really?
Yes. Okay. It does a couple of things that are really incredible. I'm going to show you, first of all, a video here that I shot on the set. And this was shot in high definition. Okay. And this particular format is, I transcoded it when I captured it from the high def camera and brought it in, and it is in Apple 422. Okay. And so this thing is about 1 gigabyte per minute. Wow. All right. Okay. So if I wanted to edit it in Final Cut Pro on my laptop,
it's too big.
Forget it.
Yeah, too slow, because your machine will choke.
Right. So what I'm going to do instead here is I'm going to open that same big file with Compressor. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do several things to it that a lot of people don't realize that Compressor can do. Now here I can bring up the file, and so we can see, you know, here it is. And I have prepared a custom set of settings down here, and I'll show you how to do that. It's very easy. And I'm going to drag that up to here and say use this compression. Now what it does is I have gone over here. Let me just go in here and blow this up a little bit so you can see it. You have a set of special features when you convert a file. Okay. So what I've done is I've checked letterbox. All right. And I've used the DV compressor. Okay. So now I'm going to go to a DV stream, which is, you know, only 14 gigabytes an hour, but much smaller. Right. And I've said burn in the time code in the black area at the bottom. Cool. Okay. So I've added time code. I've put it in letterbox format. But look at all the other things I could do it. There's black restore, brightness and contrast, correct color highlights, deinterlace, fade in, fade out, gamma correction, noise removal. All these features are built into Compressor. And so you can do all that. So now I'm going to zoom back out here, and I am going to go up and say that I'm going to submit this file for compression. Okay. Now I can do it right in this computer with Compressor, or if I have other computers on the same network,
which many of us do.
Right. Yeah. I can turn on a QMaster application, and I can distribute the load over multiple computers.
That's kind of neat. So they can all work on it.
That's right. So they can all work on it. And
do you have to have QMaster on all the computers, or?
Well, it's basically there in the OS.
Built in.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you can use it with Compressor. You can use it for rendering in Final Cut Pro. And you can use it with, what is it, Shake and Motion. Yeah. You know what's funny is Handbrake uses it also, which is a low-end DVD ripper, but it's kind of neat that it's smart enough to say, are there other computers? Would you like me to use them? And
Visual
that
Hub will do that.
Really speeds things up. Now let me just show you what it looks like. I'm going to go into System Preferences, and I'm going to go down here to Apple QMaster. And here it is. And I've got it set to share, and I'm saying share for Compressor. And I'll just zoom in here a little bit. So you set it up and identify the cluster, and I've got it identified as Ray Maxwell's Intel laptop cluster. Now let me tell you,
does it make a difference in speed? I mean, noticeably?
Yes. Now let me tell you one other little trick. If you have a multiple core Mac, don't just set up one instance of QMaster.
Run two.
You can run two, or if you have this new 8.
You could run 8.
Yeah, and it runs one per thread, and man, does it speed things up.
That's a big difference. Yeah. So how do we get to QMaster? Is that a separate program, or is it in System Preferences?
That's in System Preferences.
Okay, great.
So that's under System Preferences. Now let me just show you the results of doing all this. So down out here in the Finder, I'm going to select both of these files, one of which I've run through Compressor and one which I haven't, and let's look at the info. This one's one, and by this way, it's about a minute and a half.
Minute of video, minute and a half
so
video.
1.5 gigabytes versus 364.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah. So I can put this on my laptop and edit it, and if I open this, you'll see that
it's got the time code.
We've got the time code, and it's now in Letterbox.
So now if you edit it, and can you then save out the edit list and apply it to the old uncompressed video?
Exactly.
So what you would do is kind of make a low quality version, a draft mode almost for editing, and then save out what changes you made and put that in the...
Precisely.
Oh, that's very handy.
Yeah. So you can work very compact, very quickly, not take up a lot of disk space when you're done, export EDL, and then do your online editing with your uncompressed data.
Compressor is the program. KeyMaster is the one that shares the data. Here's the bad news. You need to have Final Cut Pro or Studio to even have these programs, unfortunately. That's kind of a negative.
Right.
But if you're doing this kind of video editing, you may well.
Exactly.
You know, I'm sad to say I use Final Cut Express. It doesn't come with a compressor. I'm sorry to say. I have to deal without. But I make sure I don't shoot video that's quite so rich and dense as you do. Oh, you're going to give me a copy of Final Cut? Thank you. Only $1,300, and you too can be compressing like a star. Ray Maxwell is a wonderful fellow that we love having on, and even though he has expensive taste, you can get, and cameras too, you ought to see. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can catch his work at maxwellmultimedia.com. Lots of pictures, lots of information. And we'll have show notes about this at our site, labwithleo.com. Thank you so much, Ray.
Sure thing.
That's great. Can you cut that part out? I look kind of fat. Do you have a little thinning, sculpting brush?
Right, yeah.
Anything like that? Hey, let's take a close-up look at something you'd find around the lab. Sean took this with his super-duper macro lens. Boy, I just look so familiar. There's something about that. I feel like I know it. What could that be? Well, I'll tell you what. We'll zoom out and find out when the lab continues right after this. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the lab. There's a close-up picture of something you'd commonly find around the lab every day. What the heck could that be? I'll tell you what. I knew what that was. I have one of those. It's a Corsair Flash Voyager USB card. You know, they come now in 32 gigabytes.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But when you have 32 gigabytes, it's not, you have to zoom way. Anyway, let's get back to the calls. Kate's got another caller for us.
We are going to Laval, Quebec, and this is George.
Hey, George.
Hey, Leo.
Welcome to the lab.
Thanks for picking my question.
Well, of course. What can I do for you?
Well, here's the thing. There's an internet radio station that I like to listen to, and unfortunately, they don't have podcasts. Now, I was wondering if there's any way of recording their stream and transferring it into a podcast.
Yeah,
so
you
it could
bet.
have, like, the songs, the title of the songs in one big file instead of having separate little song files. Because I've used Ripcast before, which does split it, but...
Yeah, that's more for taking the songs and turning them into individual songs. But you want the radio show, basically, on your hard drive so you can listen on your MP3 player.
And then transfer it onto my iPod, that's right.
Yeah. Here's the Mac or Windows?
Mac.
Oh, rats.
Well, I have both. I have a Mac, so now you have boot camp.
Oh, I guess you could always run Windows.
Yeah.
This is the program that I recommend and use, but it is a Windows program. It's from Applian, A-P-P-L-I-A-N. It's called Replay AV. This is certainly the most powerful program out there, Mac or Windows. It's essentially a kind of a VCR for streaming audio and video. You can even capture YouTube videos, real media. I mean, it does everything. So this will capture it. You set the time, you set the station, and it saves it out to a file. Now, there are Mac programs that'll do this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there are. I want to say, you know, something that comes with the Shark, the Griffin Shark probably is something like that. Let's see, Macintosh. Let me see if I can, streaming, audio, record. This Applian program is so good that I've never used anything else other than that. It's one advantage of having Windows and Mac machines is you can use the one that, you know, works best for you.
That's why I've just changed to Mac like a week ago. So
all right. Well, yeah, you can always run it, and probably something like that will run just fine even in parallels without having to exit out of Windows. Yeah, it looks like let's see, Mac, Windows, all these Windows programs. I'm looking for a Mac. Looks like there's a few, but they all work with Shoutcast. And see, that's the problem. Okay, the program that you're using to capture those individual files works with the radio station you want to listen to?
Yeah, you could use Shoutcast and then use Ripcast, which doesn't do an amazing job, I find.
Yeah.
Because it goes with the silences, so it sometimes splits it in odd places.
So if it's a Shoutcast stream, this will work. It's called Radio Lover.
Okay.
Radio Lover. And it records. It also does a split, but doesn't have to do a split. It'll even move it back to an iPod.
Okay. The other one you first mentioned was Applian?
Applian is the company, Applian. That records the whole thing. It looks like even Radio Lover splits them. But I bet you could turn. You see, were you using Stream Ripper X? What were you using to do the ripping?
The ripping was Ripcast.
It was Ripcast.
I don't know.
I'm not familiar with that one. So, I think the real issue is. Oh yeah, you know, Audio Hijack might do that.
Audio Hijack?
Yeah, I love Audio Hijack. This is from Rogue Amoeba.
Okay.
Audio Hijack Pro. What you would have to do with this, it wouldn't be automatic, although you could probably create an automator action that would do it. You'd have to start the stream and then turn on Audio Hijack, and then it could record it.
Okay.
So it can record anything that the computer can hear. It can record. This is a great program, about $40, but you could try before you buy.
But the thing, though, that I'm looking for is that it records the stream, and it's like a podcast where you actually, as a stream, let's say it's a 2-hour stream, you record it, you actually see the song titles within that hour.
Oh, you want to see the song titles?
That's right. That's right.
So you don't want just a regular old MP3 file. You want an enhanced AAC file that'll show information about what you're listening to.
Yeah, because I've seen podcasts. I haven't really downloaded any, but
that's done by hand by the podcaster. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Podcaster actually goes through and as he's listening to it, enters in that information. It's not automatic by any means.
Okay.
But when you're talking about a Shoutcast stream, that information is in the stream. So in theory, it wouldn't be too difficult. That's why programs like your ripping program or Radio Lover can actually separate it out into individual MP3 files that have the name of the information in it. I would say try this Radio Lover. It's from BitCartel, BITCARTEL.com. It's try before you buy, and most of the time that's what I would do with these things is try before you buy. You can schedule these ahead of time. It does know the name of the song. The problem is you have to strip it into individual songs I think to get all of the different names.
Okay, so there is no easy solution.
Not that I know of, because that's an enhanced AAC file, and nothing's going to do that automatic that I know of. I mean, that would be a good project for you. Are you a good programmer, George?
No, not really, but maybe I'd like to try it.
It wouldn't be that hard to do. You've got all the pieces there, except that nobody has put it together that particular way.
Okay.
Yeah, because what it is in order for you to see each individual song in one larger file, you'd have to create an enhanced AAC file. And none of these do that. They all do AAC or MP3, but they don't do enhanced. It's a great idea. You came up with a really interesting idea, George. I think somebody should create this.
Well, maybe I will. I have to create basically an enhanced AAC file?
Yeah. Okay. That's what you want to do. Now, this will only work with Shoutcast streams because they're essentially streaming MP3s with all the information attached. Many radio stations don't use Shoutcast for that very reason. It's too easy to rip it. So they will use Windows Media Player, some other form of streaming audio, real audio or whatever. That's why I like the Applian product, because that'll record anything. Same thing with Audio Hijack Pro. As long as you can hear it, it will record it. But they won't give you that information about the song name unless it's a Shoutcast stream. George, you came up with a great question, a great problem in search of a solution. I don't know of a solution, but boy, maybe somebody will write one. That's a great idea.
Okay, so listen, maybe I'll call you back and tell you I found a solution.
Do. That would be great.
All right, thanks a lot.
George. I really appreciate it. Let's take a walk on over here to the wild side because Sean has absolutely nothing to show me here.
Nothing at all.
Where's your shiny?
I'm wearing it today.
Oh, is it a Scottevest?
It's the new Scottevest. It's the new travel vest.
You know, they make these with these great fabrics. This is like microfiber. It's beautiful looking.
Yeah,
What's special about this now?
Well, 25 pockets.
25 pockets.
So this is not new. This is what they do. They do pockets. You got channels between all the wires.
Pockets in your pockets.
Pockets inside the pockets. Little
Look
connectors.
at this. This is great.
Clips for badges, for your headphone wires, all of that sort of stuff. What they did do this time around, they have apparently had some complaints about them. I don't know which pocket is which.
Yeah, the phone will ring, and you go, I know it's here somewhere.
Theoretically, you should remember these, but just in case you want a little guide, it now has these little tags here that shows you what goes where. So like sunglasses,
that's a good idea.
travel documents.
That's a great idea.
Over here on this other side, you've got one for your iPod and one for your camera down here.
Now you just have to make sure you better put the things in the right pockets.
Yeah, I mean you can.
I like this because it even has, here's the iPod, and this has a little thing so that a little Velcro so you can put the iPod wire through there and the headphones through there.
These pockets are huge.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you've got room.
You got lunch in there. Oh my goodness! What are you?
It's all in the same pocket.
And that's the other thing that I think they've done recently is that it doesn't look so bulky.
No,
I don't know how they're doing that. I mean, look at this. You wouldn't know. Yeah.
So
wow, that's great.
And the one thing Scott was saying about these things initially was you just put all your gadgets for travel into this thing and just take this off and put it on the belt.
Great.
When you go through the airport.
Scott Jordan is a neat guy. Scottevest, scottevest.com. Let's take a look at the pros and cons.
Lots of pockets. Easy to identify what's in them. There's 3 colors now for this one.
This is pretty.
The red one I like a lot, but it also comes in black and I believe tan. And it's available for both men and women, which not all other products are.
They're a little pricey, as many Scottevest
so about $100 for this. Not bad, but not great. You can still lose items in these pockets. There's so much space inside here, you will lose track of something, especially when you put it through the wash.
And there are a lot of magnets in these things.
Yeah, so if you've got a pacemaker, you don't want to wear this.
Or if you've got a hotel card key, don't put it in your pocket because you'll never get in your room again.
Or if you've got a little magnetic floppy disk.
Credit cards, floppy disks, no.
Yeah.
But I've learned, I'm careful because I wear all Scottevest all the time, so I have magnets everywhere. All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up in just a bit, Ruby on Rails. It's gone through a completely new revision, version 2.0. Brian LaRue is going to show us what's new in 2. Before we do that, though, a quick quiz question of the day. Which of these inventions is the oldest? The astrolabe, beer, a compass, or a dynamo? That's a great question. They're all pretty old. Which is the oldest? Think about it. We'll talk about it a little later on as the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. Leo Laporte here. This is one for programmers. We're doing a high-end show today. We did compressor earlier. Now we're going to do programmers. Brian LaRue is back. He's a software architect at Nitobi. Good old days. He used all the buzzword compliant programming languages like C++. But now he's seen the light. He's a Ruby on Rails kind of guy.
It's very true.
Good to have you back. Thanks for coming.
Leo.
So let's recap. We've talked about Ruby on Rails before. Let's recap. What is Ruby on Rails?
Ruby on Rails is a web framework. Rails is built on top of Ruby. Ruby's a programming language, and the idea about Ruby on Rails is simplicity. It's making life easier for developers.
So if you're a programmer who is creating a website, and a web application that does something, you would use Ruby as your programming language, and you use Rails as a way to get started fast.
That's right, yes.
To kind of get it all started out, and then it makes it very easy to modify it and update it. And, one of the things they talk about, which is really cool, is you can have your client sitting there and make changes on the fly while the thing is running.
Totally.
And quick turnaround time, which is really neat.
And that was the idea about having quick iterations and allowing people to build sites with their client in a fast turnaround kind of environment, because the web, everything changes so quickly.
Yeah.
And so you want to be agile to that change.
The agile web, that's what this is all about. In fact, it was created by 37 Signals. They wrote the book, literally wrote the book on this subject.
Yep, they
Simplicity
did.
And getting stuff done fast.
Yeah.
So now Rails is maturing.
Yeah.
Version 2 is out.
Version 2, it's actually been around for 5 years now.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so version 2 is released just this Christmas.
I had no idea it was that old. Wow.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. It's only been in version 2 for a couple months now. It was kind of a Christmas present to developers.
Is it still David Hannemeyer Hansen who wrote it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so he was the original creator of this.
That's right, with contributions from thousands of people
Of course,
around the
it's
world.
an open source project, right?
Yeah.
So, but he's still leading the charge.
He's still leading the charge, and so with Rails 2, there's all kinds of new and exciting things.
What are our advantages?
Well, Rails 2 builds on Rails 1, and interestingly, by building on it, they removed a whole bunch of stuff. They took out a whole bunch of code and they made it simpler. So
Really?
less code,
But it does as much or more?
It does as much and more, but with less code. And so less code has a whole bunch of advantages.
So here's an example. We have some code here.
Here's an example of what we call migration, which lets us do some database magic.
So this is what you'd have to write as the programmer.
As a programmer, you'd be writing all this code. And that was a before, and this is the after. It's a subtle change, but it's a lot less code and a lot less thinking for the user. So, or for the developer.
Do you find that web frameworks like this, and there are many, confine you at all? I mean, do you feel like, well, I have to do it this way because that's the Ruby way?
Yeah,
or the Rails way?
There are constraints, and those constraints are what the power is in Ruby. So we accept that we have to do things in a certain methodology. We can make expectations on how things work.
Right.
By pluralizing, for example, posts, we know there's going to be a database table called posts, and will be an object called post.
So instead of
it's a little simpler.
by creating something called post, that's very interesting. By creating something called posts plural, you automatically get a database called posts and an object called post.
Right.
Just it happens automatically.
Yes, so these are the constraints that you end up with.
But yeah, I can see the advantage to that.
There's huge advantages.
So when you say faster, it's faster for the programmer, but is Rails now operating faster? Is it more?
Rails is also operating faster.
Good.
And so less code means there's less code to write. There's less code to debug. There's less code to fix.
More reliable is important.
More reliable. And it's easier to change when there's less code, too. So another thing that they've done is they've built in SQLite support, which comes with OS X. So there's no database setup anymore.
That's nice.
You're just rolling immediately.
Wow, that's great. Now, somebody said Leopard was going to include Rails. I think that they did.
It does.
It does?
It does.
It's in?
Yep.
1.0, though, not 2.0?
Or
1.6 or whatever.
2, 3 or something like that, but it's really easy to upgrade. It just takes a few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's less code. There's also a whole bunch of caching built in now. And so caching, long story short, is not making extra trips back to the database or back to the server.
An example is Twitter, which is written in Ruby on Rails, and it has a lot of transactions going on all the time.
Yes.
The more you can cache that stuff,
that's right,
the faster it's going to be. If you have to make a database query for every bit of information, it's going to really kill your performance.
You might have some downtime.
Might. That's an inside joke.
It could happen.
It could happen.
So yeah, query caching, asset caching, so that means it'll take
images and things.
Images, your JavaScript, your CSS files, it'll all compress it down and it'll send it back down the pipe as one cached bit, which is really cool. And asset servers, which is something I'm sure Twitter's already doing. And that means the web browser can create a whole bunch of connections if they're in different domains. But it can only create 2 to the same domain. And so there's a little bit of trickery inside of Rails 2 that'll allow you to create a whole bunch of requests, but send it back to one domain.
No idea what you're talking about, but I'm sure somebody does. And
makes things faster.
It's a good thing.
It makes things faster.
Now, scaffolding is kind of a neat idea. Scaffolding is when you first create your Ruby on Rails project, you just type a few words and it builds kind of the structure of the whole thing. Creates the folders, creates the files. It's kind of magic.
It throws everything up for you, so you're moving a lot quicker. You don't have to build all this stuff over and over again. So it takes all the repetitive work out of doing your development. And so
that hasn't changed, I hope. We need that.
Scaffolding's changed a lot. So scaffolding was almost a dirty word in Rails 1. It started to be associated with a bad coding practice, and it generated a whole bunch of code. And so we can take a look over here at an example of some older scaffolding. And so this is
all generated by Rails, created code by Rails?
Yeah, and so now this isn't very much code, but by today's standards in Rails, this would be considered a lot of code and a lot of unnecessary code.
Really? Okay.
It's also not really the prettiest code, if we can see down there. So you've got different methods: destroy, update, create, show. And then you've got to do up here this verify, and that'll verify, if it's a post, you can only destroy, create, update, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So Rails 2 has improved this a lot, and we can take a look back at my computer. And so before it was verbose, the forms were ugly, and it was just considered bad form. Rails 2, it's actually considered good form. In
the sense that the code it generates is cleaner, more elegant?
More elegant and more capable. And so this is an example of some Rails 2 code.
I'm just going to have to take your word for it because it looks exactly the same to me. All right, but I believe you. It's more elegant.
It looks closer, and what it does out of the box is this RESTful stuff. And so RESTful means it's aware of what kind of requests. So to show you live what it looks like, if we look here, I've just set this up. I've got this post. we want to create a new post.
This is a Ruby on
Hi,
Rails
Leo.
application running, obviously not with a lot of styling.
Yeah, so this is what scaffolding looks like. So it's kind of ugly.
This is what you get when you first run it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it leaves it up to you to do what you want. So this isn't too groundbreaking here. This is just post. This is where the RESTful stuff gets interesting. We can generate XML with the same code that we generated the HTML. And so we've just halved our development time for providing web APIs.
So if you're
really
a developer
exciting.
and you're developing something for the end user that's text on the screen, you also have a back end coming along that makes it so much easier for other computers
Yes.
to access the data that you're generating.
Yes, and sort of the way the future of the web is working, we're getting all these small pieces loosely joined, and web applications are talking to each other, and so this is going to make the developer's life a lot easier.
Don't be afraid. It's okay for the machines to talk to one another. They're not planning an overthrow or world domination.
We hope.
We hope. No, it's good because that's where you get syndication, you get RSS feeds, you get all sorts of interaction that's really powerful. Really is exciting. So Ruby on Rails too. So it's easy to upgrade. Is it a gem that you can just run to upgrade it, or?
You got it.
Okay.
Sudo gem update Rails.
Simple as that.
You're on Ruby on Rails too.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Then you have to get in a whole new book and learn everything anew, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's also on the web. There's lots of blogs.
Programmers like that.
Yeah.
They like to update their skills. Are you writing in Rails now entirely, pretty much?
Yeah, that's one
neat.
of the key frameworks we're using. We're keeping a close eye on a couple other ones in the Ruby world right now. There's another called Merb, which is really interesting.
Frameworks are where it's at, though, even in Python and Perl now.
Django and Python is really cool. Yeah.
So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Makes it much easier to program, as it should be. In fact, this was kind of always what everybody said is at some point the computer is going to write a lot of the code, and programmers can focus on a higher level, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Computer can do the boring stuff.
Yeah.
Let's do the interesting stuff. Brian LaRue is a software architect at Nitobi. He's been talking about the latest Ruby on Rails. He also has a blog, which I didn't realize. What's the name of your blog?
West Coast Logic.
So you talk about this kind of stuff there too, if people are programmers?
Well, it's a tumble log, so I send everything
fun.
down there.
All sorts of stuff. westcoastlogic.com.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. Great to talk to you again.
Thanks,
Good
Leo.
to see you. All right, we'll be back with more of your calls, more answers to your questions when the lab continues. You stay right here.
8, 7, 6, 5 commercials, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, welcome back to Lab with Leo. I'm Kate Abraham, and now it's time for my tip of the day, and I'm going to apologize in advance if you love Tetris and spent too much time playing Tetris. Stackopolis is going to really ruin your life and probably your working environment as well. I'm really, really sorry. It's a great game and it's so addictive. So it's called Stackopolis, and the idea is that you create a metropolis using a stacking system. So the first level is fairly simple, and as you can see, what happens when it loads through, you've got numbers down here. I will zoom in so you can see the numbers here. So you have to stack 1 on the outer system, and then you have to stack 2, and then 3. So you click, and so literally something like drag and drop. And you have to do it against the clock.
Oh, I hate that.
It gets faster and harder.
Oh, no.
And the idea is you do this, and then it gets very stressful. And then
what are you trying to do?
You're trying to build Metropolis.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Honestly, give it a go. It's a
can't
really
wait.
good game. Stackopolis.com.
And it's all on the web. It's not a download. It's all on the web.
You can download it, but you can also play it online.
There you go. Stackopolis. Very exciting. So what is the URL for that?
It is stackopolis.com/play.
So let's get our next caller on here. What do you
Indeed,
say?
we are going to talk to Jalen from Surrey in BC.
You're losing. Quick.
I know,
9,
I know.
8, 7. Hey, Jalen.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome
How are
to
you?
the show. I'm great. How are you today?
I'm great.
What can I do for you?
My question was regarding deleting history. When I go to delete my history, it deletes.
Oh,
But then
yes.
if I go back to search something, let's say anything that I've searched beginning with S,
Yep.
it still comes up.
So like right here. And you're talking about the little Google thing. Which browser are you using, first of all?
XP. And,
Internet Explorer?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm using Firefox here, and I'll just show everybody this is what we're talking about. So I typed S, and I see Stackopolis, Southwest Air, Sears, Staples, Skype, Sky Sports, Sony, Southwest, Sky News, Scientology. So let's go to Internet Explorer here on Windows. IE7 or IE6? Which version of Internet Explorer, do you know?
6.
Oh, Well, first of all, I want to encourage you to upgrade to 7, okay? Because 7 is much more secure than 6 is. In fact, I don't really recommend people use IE6 at all. So here we are, and I'm going to type my. See, I haven't used this enough, so I type S and I don't get anything. In fact, I probably haven't done enough searches in here to have anything at all. You can clear this though. That's the good news. We're going to go to Tools, Internet Options. It might be a little bit different on IE6, but I think it's roughly the same. Let's see. I think we go to the Content tab in here, and we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to clear the autocomplete out. So you see here it says delete autocomplete history.
Okay.
Actually, we have to go to the General tab for that. So that's General, Browsing History, delete. And you're going to delete everything, particularly form data. Believe it or not, that's what it thinks this search history is. So you're going to delete your history and delete your form data.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yep.
You can also delete all. Now, you can also, in IE, this is kind of a nice thing about IE, you can delete individual things. So if there was one search thing you don't want anybody to see, you can actually start typing, arrow down to that particular one, and instead of hitting return to go to it, I can't show you because I don't have any search histories, but you press the delete key instead of hitting the return key, and that will delete that particular search term. So you type the first few letters, arrow down to the one you don't like, hit the delete key, it'll be gone. Okay.
Oh.
Now, I am going to recommend that you go to IE7 or go to Firefox. Firefox has a really nice feature if you're using Firefox. If I go to my Firefox options, let's see, it's in Preferences, and I go to Privacy, I can say always clear my private data when I close Firefox. So if you're worried about this on a regular basis, not just one thing you want to delete, on Firefox it'll automatically always delete it every time you close the program. And you can give it some settings to say, you know, do you want to save form information, that's the search stuff, cookies, passwords, you can tell it what to delete. Or you can clear your data manually, right, by collecting clear private data now. So this is actually a nice feature. It's got a kind of browsing, private browsing built in. Safari does on the Mac as well. So Firefox, Safari will automatically do it, but you can do it in Internet Explorer just by going to the Tools, Options, and Internet Options and deleting that from the General tab.
I've been working on it for months.
Oh, dear, I'm sorry. Well, there you go, Jaylyn.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching the show. We appreciate it.
Love it.
Take
Keep
care.
it going.
Thanks. I
Alrighty.
really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Now, I know I'm embarrassed whenever I type Ewell's Jewels, and up pops all of those jewels. I want to delete all of my Ewell's
You know, you
Jewels.
have to blame for that.
What? Yeah, why is that? Because Jewels, I made that up?
Yeah, you did.
All right. What is your jewel for today?
It's for Mac. It's called Breakaway.
Breakaway.
Essentially, it works with iTunes. Whenever you're playing anything in iTunes and you have your headphones plugged in, people know if you unplug your headphones,
It gets
all of a
really
sudden it gets
loud.
really loud. So I'm going to start hit play here, and you're going to see that if I unplug the jack, you're going to be able to see.
Because we're hearing audio now on the TV.
Okay. So I'm going to unplug the jack. And
It's silent.
There you go. It paused it. It actually pauses it.
You know, the iPhone does that. That's such a nice feature.
And then if I plug the jack back in...
Does it start it up again?
It starts it up again. And it gets better.
There's more?
There's more. If you actually hit the mute button, it does the same thing. So if I hit mute, it'll pause and stop. It mutes it and pauses it so that if a phone rings or something, if you hit mute, normally it still keep playing. Now it stops it. And
This is a good idea.
If I hit mute again, there you go.
But I really like that unplug thing. That's a really
There you go. You unplug
Look at
it.
that.
There you
Boom.
go. It stops.
What's that called?
It's called Breakaway.
And how much is it?
It's 100% free.
100%, 1,000%, millions and millions percent. It's infinitely free.
Infinitely free.
And where would we find it?
Labwithleo.com, free files, Ewell's Jewels.
Right there.
Labwithleo.com. Go there.
Thank you, Ryan. Great one. That's a really good one. All right. Right now, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, our web workshop is here. Susie Gardner is going to take some viewers' site and explain what they're doing wrong and how they could do it better. But first, a last chance to take our quick quiz question of the day. Which of these inventions is the oldest? The astrolabe, used to navigate the stars. Beer, used to make people look better in bars. Compass, used to find north. Dynamo, I don't know what it does. So which is the oldest? I don't know. We'll find out when the lab continues. Stay here. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we asked you which of these is the oldest. Now, I don't know, but I heard, when I was in Egypt, they said that the pyramids, the workers who built the pyramids were drinking beer. So I'm saying beer. Yeah, it's old. It's been going on for ages. All right, we're going to talk about websites now with Susie Gardner. She is the author of Blogging for Dummies 2.0, just hit the newsstands. She's also at Hop Studios. She's the creative director there. And you're going to take some, oh, sorry. That's a bad thing to do on TV when you whip that out of the shot like that. You're going to take some poor viewer's site and you're going to tune it. We're not going to savage it. We're just going to tune it.
Right.
Whose site do we have today?
Today we have busybird.com, and that's B-I-Z-Y bird.com.
I like it already.
Yeah. And this is a couple that are selling birds of the exotic variety.
Cool.
Online.
There we have the big graphic again. People love the big graphic.
Well, it makes an impact.
Got to love the big graphic.
Yep. So this is busybird.com. It's a really little site, just a few pages, and
that's
really,
fine. Nothing wrong
that's
with that,
all they need.
Yeah.
And they wrote in and said, they thought the site was pretty good, but they were always looking for more input. So
we can do that.
All right. So I like the big graphic. It's nice.
You don't mind that?
No.
Because sometimes you've said in the past it takes up too much space.
The homepage is a chance to use something like that.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
This isn't a newspaper website or something that has a ton of information. So this is a good opportunity for them to use a big graphic. They aren't using it on the inside pages. If they were doing that, I would be savaging that.
Okay.
But what I will savage here is all this centered text.
It is. It's all centered, isn't it?
It's all centered. And that's
why do
really,
snobs like you not like centered text?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's hard to read.
Oh.
Now, your eye travels across that line.
You're right.
And
You're
then
right.
because there's not a hard left edge, you have to search around to find the next line to start reading.
I think because it's so easy to center text on the computer, it does it all automatically.
Well, yeah.
People tend to use it more. But you're right, it isn't as readable, is it?
It's not as readable, and it is useful in small amounts,
right?
Because it does have an impact. It sets it off, and it says that there's something special about this. But if you center everything, then there's really nothing special anymore. The other thing I would say here is that the text, because they're using what's called a liquid layout, which means that it expands with the browser window here. Well, if you have a big screen like mine, the browser window can get pretty wide. So text that goes just all the way across the screen, again, that's also kind of hard to read. So
long lines are harder to read, aren't they? You want kind of a middle size, not too short, not too long.
And along with that, with readability, as always, I'm not a fan of the patterned backgrounds. And they make text, especially small text and colored text like this, really hard to read. And you can see that's going on here. We have it's a subtle pattern, I'll give them that, going on in the background, and then we have this kind of reddish color text on it that's not that big. And I find it just, it's a little hard on the eyes.
Notice how much easier the green is to read than the red.
Yeah, so color would make a difference here if you really want to keep the pattern background. Text size might make a difference. But I think the text color is probably the big area where if you want to keep that pattern background,
I'm not
change
crazy
the text
about
color.
red text.
It's a little hard on the eyes.
Yeah.
So then we'll move on, and the inside pages, I think I mentioned, where they don't have a big graphic, and they're doing some nice things here with photos of the birds, which is really what you need to sell this product, right? You need these beautiful birds out here. So they've got these great pictures and sort of a photo gallery presentation where you can click on the thumbnail, but it just takes you straight to the image file. So you lose any branding of your website that you might have.
There's no navigation.
Yeah, there's no navigation because we're just looking at the file. We're not looking at a web page anymore. And as the user, if I want to click to the next photo, I've actually got to go back to this page, click on the next one. So I would encourage these folks to explore some of the really good tools out there to do online photo galleries. Flickr is one. I looked up and there's a whole list. Flickr's one. Zenphoto is one. There's even one called Coffee Cup Photo Gallery that's a pay one with lots of support.
Makes it very easy.
So there's some really good options out there that people could really take advantage of with something like this. Because this is really what's going to sell your product.
It's about the pictures.
And just to reinforce that centered text thing, there you go.
Oh, boy.
Pretty hard to read.
At least it doesn't spread out across the page now, but still,
And my final point here is the navigation typically is ordered from most to least important, with one exception. The contact information is often the last navigation item.
Home is usually the first,
Home
contact the last.
And in between, you want to go most to least. So in this case, they've got the photo galleries up there first here, but then they've got this links page which I actually think is a whole lot less important. It's a links to other websites that are resources for birds.
Right.
And they've got that before prices and babies available.
Oh, that should be first.
And I think those links need to be, you know, much higher.
Yeah.
And you could increase the size of that navigation too.
Yeah.
It's pretty small here.
But it gets the job done, and that's
it gets the job done.
It's a site. Good. It's an effective site in that sense, and I'm glad to see all those parrot.
What I really like about this site is that you clearly have, when you read the text, you look at the photos, you get a sense that these people really care about their birds, and that you know, if you were in the market for a bird like this, you would want one coming from a good home.
Good point. And the Parrot's Bird of Bill of Rights.
Yeah.
Very
and the
important.
design says that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susie. Susie is from Hop Studios, hopstudios.com, and her new book, Blogging for Dummies, just came out. You can get your copy at newsstands everywhere because it is one of those dummies books that is at newsstands everywhere. Blogging for Dummies 2.0. Thank you, Susie. Great to see you again.
You too.
All right. A final word coming up right after this. Stay here. Oh, hi, welcome back. You see my cute little computer?
I am
Isn't
in
that
love
cute?
with this.
This is the one laptop per child. The idea was to make a $100 laptop that could be sold to developing nations for their schools so that kids could learn technology. Nick Negroponte at the MIT Media Labs was the guy who came up with this. And, you know, I got this because I donated to the project, and they had to get, well, they don't do it anymore, unfortunately. They give one, get one program, and I got mine. It's got little tiny keys. I mean,
I have really chunky fingers, and
yeah,
honestly,
it's hard to type
I
on
feel
that.
most of it.
Well, it's got a great, I have to say, a great screen. It has some neat stuff. I mean, this thing, it comes with a camera. Here, let me launch
you can surf on that as well, right?
You can surf the net. I've got the web going here. I mean, this is look at this is the kind of the main screen where you see what activities you've got. And I've launched 4 programs. I've got them running all at the same time. Let me launch the browser. Go back to the browser here. You can see we've got there's the browser, and it's using Wi-Fi. That's what these little ears are. You know, one of the neat things is it not only does it use Wi-Fi, but it will spread Wi-Fi. So if one kid has a connection, the other kids in the classroom can all connect off of that same kid. So that's kind of neat. It's got music software, a lot of educational software, programming software, and more. I mean, it's a really, I have to say, I'm really kind of impressed by this. By the way, one of the things I like best about it, it's got a really great screen, which you can even use as an ebook reader because you can flip it down like this and put books on it, and it even works out in the dark. So I mean, in the sunlight. So it doesn't work in the dark. It works in the sunlight. So it's really cool.
And it's super durable as well.
Pardon me?
Super durable.
Yeah, the idea is it's not only durable but easy to repair. So you don't have to send it back to the factory if something goes wrong. I'm pretty impressive.
And a beautiful shade of green.
Isn't it? It's so cute. It ended up costing more than they wanted to. I think they're about $220 now. But as they make more and more of them, they'll be able to sell it. And I could just see a little kid walking to school carrying their OLPC, can't you? Isn't that cute? I wanted to show you that. Hey, we're going to take off because we've got to go home, but we'll be back next time. And if you go to the website, you could be back with us too, labwithleo.com. Fill out that form. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.